A broad spectrum of reactions and viewpoints has recently been kindled by Rachel Ziegler's name, which gained prominence through her mesmerizing turn as Maria in Steven Spielberg's adaptation of Westside Story. Ziegler's swift trajectory towards stardom seemed almost instantaneous. Yet, as the familiar refrain goes, towering renown often invites heightened inspection. This became especially evident once Ziegler found herself at the core of an internet firestorm tied to her impending performance as Snow White in a Daily Wire production. Observers and commentators have been riveted by the aftermath, which can only be characterized as a turbulent surge of responses, as Rachel Ziegler grapples with waves of contention. Meanwhile, Disney's latest casting for Snow White, Rachel Ziegler, became ensnared in social media backlash. Matt Walsh, a host at Daily Wire, alongside others, amplified this chorus of criticism when a previously recorded video of Ziegler resurfaced. In that footage, she boldly referred to the prince in the original story as stalker-esque. The debate over Ziegler's frank remarks about this cherished classic continues to stoke spirited conversations online. Elaborating on her viewpoint, she explained that the 1937 cartoon chiefly focused on a romance with someone who, in her words, plainly follows her around. Very strange, truly. "We took a different tack this time," she said. In response, Walsh tweeted to his 2.4 million followers, "Disney seems to have embraced a novel marketing approach, having their new Snow White disparage the original." Dana Lowe, a conservative commentator, quipped, "Maybe there's no prince showing up because Snow White's attitude would make him hope she stayed asleep." Brandon Morse, Red State's editor, offered a succinct perspective. A Disney performer dismantling Disney's legacy. In the midst of these developments, Rachel Ziegler has been swept into a vortex, remaining forthright in voicing her feelings. The turmoil began once powerful Hollywood studios started to distance themselves from her, withdrawing notable roles. Of particular note, Disney opted not to invite her to the Snow White 2024 premiere. But the narrative grows more intricate. The Daily Wire, a burgeoning contender, intends to debut its take, titled Snow White and the Evil Queen, featuring Brett Cooper in a starring position. Evidently, this version has made an impact on Rachel Ziegler, inciting an ongoing dispute. What sparks curiosity is the way the Daily Wire is handling its Snow White. They have pledged to deliver an authentic, indeed, what they call a faithful adaptation, preserving the classic depictions of both Snow White and the Evil Queen without dilution. "Disney needed a century to reach where it stands," said Jeremy Boring, co-founder of the Daily Wire. He continued, "Though we acknowledge that we can't match the Disney of today, we aspire to emulate the ethos it embodied in its infancy, a fledgling studio brimming with lofty aspirations and the nerve to pursue them. Walt's name may endure in Disney's branding, but they seem to have strayed from his fundamental vision." Bentkey, the Daily Wire's branch devoted to children's entertainment, is poised to release its first live-action film. Although no definite date has been announced, a teaser indicates that the production is indeed in progress and will grace cinemas soon. Alluding to the House of Mouse, a popular nickname for Disney, the company stated, "In the midst of a challenging phase for Disney, as Rachel Ziegler, its live-action Snow White star, takes issue with the timeless tale, and with the once-beloved juggernaut facing waning favor, the Daily Wire on Monday declared its plan to forge its own rendition of the Brothers Grimm fairy tale. From the start, conservative factions were skeptical about casting Zegler, the Latina breakout from Westside Story, to portray a role that, according to the Brothers Grimm, boasts skin as white as snow. They were further taken aback when the Seven Dwarfs, crucial to the original story, were recast as an eclectic band of mystical beings varied in both stature and gender. Matters intensified when remarks Ziegler made a year earlier, illustrating her lukewarm stance on the classic Snow White, resurfaced in the summertime. It hinted that a reimagined story arc might await the adored heroine, a shift that has sparked considerable discussion. Right now, Rachel Ziegler has resolved to tackle the swirling Snow White dispute directly. She feels frustration at the back and forth regarding race-based reimaginings, and it appears that Disney has granted her leeway to defend the studio's choices during interviews. This tale shows no signs of concluding, suggesting more twists are on the horizon. Despite her absence from the premiere, Ziegler managed to secure Disney's approval to share her perspective through online platforms like Twitter and YouTube. Her chief targets? The Daily Wire, Brett Cooper, and their Snow White interpretation, a stance Disney has surprisingly endorsed. Evidently, Disney senses that the Daily Wire's Snow White poses not just competition, but a threat to its creative direction and could even undermine profits. Zegler's obvious disapproval of the Brett Cooper-led Snow White, combined with Disney's internal mechanisms, is sending tremors throughout the industry. Film enthusiasts across the globe are watching this cinematic standoff as it evolves. Rachel Ziggler is hardly known for graciously accepting condemnation, especially under current circumstances. Meanwhile, the Daily Wire revels in the situation, openly ribbing and mockingly challenging Disney's Snow White, Ziggler's starring project. Looking toward next year, picture a dramatic showdown: the Daily Wire's Snow White and the Evil Queen versus Disney's version of Snow White, a clash of two powerful narratives that people everywhere can't stop talking about. Ziggler is on the verge of launching a striking promotional endeavor, where she intends to don shirts endorsing her Snow White interpretation, which entails a change in the protagonist's race. Yet tensions run deep for Ziggler and her associates. Disney seems to be endorsing her critique of the Daily Wire's adaptation, positioning Ziggler at the forefront of their own defense, firmly standing by her side. Intriguingly, the promotional shirts set to be displayed by Ziggler and her circle come with Disney's official backing, further complicating matters. Simultaneously, Disney is engaged in significant negotiations with Comedy Central about an upcoming South Park episode that they are less than enthused about, mainly because it pokes fun at race and gender alterations in Snow White. The Daily Wire, on the other hand, stresses loyalty to the original premise, urging audiences to pick its version over what they term Disney's travesty. Every day, this creative and moral clash between both productions grows more intense. Snow White and the Evil Queen is marked for release in 2024, while Disney's Snow White is set to appear in theaters on March 22, 2024. Disney has remained silent on the Daily Wire's endeavor. As this cinematic rivalry intensifies, Ziggler's replies illuminate her challenges in confronting criticism and public discontent over the studio's new take on these storied figures. It bears repeating that Snow White's heritage predates Disney, going back to older German folklore and the narratives of the Brothers Grimm. Rachel Ziggler looks to be preparing herself for a wave of fervent reactions, with the spectacle far from finished. Devoted Disney fans have flooded social channels to make their opinions known. One viewer tweeted, "The current pushback toward Rachel Ziggler and Snow White demonstrates that it's not just conservatives who've grown tired of the constant, strong female lead trope. People want something different." And that concludes our coverage, dear viewers. Thank you for your time and attention.